What's good, everybody? This is Ace here as always with my partner Mark, and we are about that sports life, man. You know what we came to do? We're gonna talk some sports, but before we get into all that, what's good, brother? How's everything?
All right, I'm good, man. Can't complain. Started substitute teaching today. Just add some extra income before the school year over. Other than that, I'm
Yeah,
good. Yeah,
how's
dog.
that going, man?
Today was the first day back. It was only half a day. It was cool. Third grader, so little little rambunctious because they had a new face. But other than that, I'll get them under control as the year keeps going. I've done it before, so it's not something brand new to me.
Wow, yeah. I mean, and the fact that you did it before, I mean, I guess it's different. Because me, I couldn't go pick up substitute teaching right now. I'm having a tough time with my two sons being home doing
Yeah,
school at home. It's like I
yeah.
got a whole new respect for teaching.
Oh, without a doubt. Well, my minor was youth development, so that was kind of something I've always learned about and been interested in. So that's what helps having a background. And
Okay.
actually it's at the same school as my son, but I don't think we'll ever be in the same classroom.
Yeah, that would be awkward. I guess probably more for you than for him. He probably would be happy about it.
Yeah, he wants
But
it. That's why he was saying like they actually had a sub today too. He's like, Dad, why didn't you come to my class? I was like, I don't think they want us in the same classroom because you're my kid. But it is what it is. Actually, growing up, my mom worked in the school system, and she was my what was it, fourth grade. Remember, like back in the day, they kind of don't do it anymore. Remember back in the day, they used to have teacher assistants in the classroom, right?
yeah,
Yeah, she was my teacher assistant all fourth grade.
that's kind of, I know that was,
Different.
yeah, like I said, I think the mom dad dynamic would be different than the dad dynamic.
Yeah, I remember one time this boy Jay, me and him we had our battles. We was actually cool most time growing up, but he had did something and I threw the eraser. Like I was really pissed. I couldn't wait till we went outside for recess. I'm like, I'm warning. As soon as we get out here, my mom knew. She's like, sit down. I'm like, yo, you serious right now?
Ah,
But like I said, I it's something I've done for a while and learned about it in school. So just like, hey, $90 a day, why not?
yeah, yeah. I mean, if you could do it, like you said, quick income before the end of the school year. Now that school's back in session.
Yep. Because yeah, some teachers that aren't fully back. I don't know. You can't force somebody to come back, I guess, with
Yeah,
what we got going on. So they need extra. So hey, try it out. But my main thing is sports. So let's get into that.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Uh, biggest thing going on right now, and it kind of caught me off guard a little bit is of course NFL free agency. And I mean I don't remember, maybe it's just I didn't never really pay attention to it as much. But I don't remember like the tampering, the open tampering day being so eventful ever before. It was always that next day when you could actually, sign players and free agency actually starts. But that tampering day was pretty non tampering day was pretty eventful this week. Um,
Yeah, I think it's been like that last couple years once they added that window, those 2 days before everything really kicks off. But I think this year, that first day, like you said, things rolled from the beginning. Even though we still have some bigger names that are still waiting, which I'm kind of surprised by with Kenny Galladay and Juju. I kind of thought they would have been in the first wave because Allen Robinson and Chris Godwin got franchise tag. We know those were the two top receivers, and with them being off, kind of thought Juju and Galladay would have got scooped up pretty quickly, and that hasn't happened yet, which is surprising to me. But I do think whoever does get those two will be they'll be rewarded.
yeah, I think that what happened with wide receivers is similar to what happened with quarterback, where you had the potential free agent, which was that. Then once he gets signed and he's no longer even an option, similar to Godwin and Allen Robinson getting franchised, it kind of throws the market out of whack a little bit. because it's like, you're not none of these other quarterbacks are in Dak's stratosphere as far as getting paid right now. That's available. So same thing with the wide receivers. I don't think any of these wide receivers are getting the type of contract that Allen Robinson or Chris Godwin would have gotten. So you kind of gotta almost reset the market. You gotta like go down a couple rungs and then see where it goes from there. So it's I think that's what kind of affected that. Like you see, some of the lesser guys get signed first because they pretty much going from the bottom up now instead of from the top down.
Like you said, we saw Nelson Aguilar get picked up by the Patriots immediately within the first couple of hours, which is an interesting move. We seen today Will Fuller goes to the Dolphins, but even him, it was only a 1-year deal where I think they're kind of trying to make sure he can stay healthy for once without the steroids, because he was healthy this year, but we know why. He got caught with the performance-enhancing drugs, but we know he's a high talent, but he has something that hangs over him, stops him from getting that big money. Galladay is the one that I kind of really am surprised by, and I guess it's maybe the injury he had last year that's holding some teams back. It seems like the Giants are kind of like in position now.
Yeah, I think the Giants are zeroing in on him.
Mm-hmm. And as you know, both our teams are in the NFC East. Really kind of wish he wasn't about to be in the division because he's a big time receiver. But it is what it is. You need a quarterback, and I don't believe in their quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you're looking at a Galladay. Galladay, he's in New York, apparently, or either he's in New York or will be in New York shortly to visit with the Giants. And from what I actually just read, maybe not too long ago, is that Juju is headed to New York as well to visit with the Jets. So we could be seeing in the next hours, days, that kind of solidify there. Will Fuller, I was a little surprised with the Dolphins pickup. I felt like the Dolphins would have gone with more of a proven receiver, and not to say Will Fuller, we know what he can do on the field. It's just that he can't stay on the field. I thought they would have went with somebody a little bit more reliable, more steady, because because of Tua. Really, you want to have somebody there that's gonna be that number one receiver for him. And I don't know that Devontae Parker is that. So I feel like that's what they would have went for. But Will Fuller's a great receiver. As long as he can stay healthy, we know what he's gonna do. I really thought that the Packers would have been the ones that would have really went after him because of trying to get him mid-season, with him being available. I figured that they would have went after him.
Yeah, I thought that too. I thought the Packers were going to be active in the market. I have a little connection. I know that they were interested in Godwin, but he didn't become available, so that kind of might have made them just change their whole plan.
Everybody would have wanted Godwin. Everybody, trust me.
Him and Allen Robinson, they were the class, and once they were out of the picture, it changed everything. One thing I'm kind of that happened today that I don't understand at all, but we're gonna see how it works, is the Raiders signing Kenyan Drake when they already had Josh Jacobs.
I was confused by that.
I understand wanting the 2 running back thing, but I feel like when you have a guy like Jacobs, your second running back doesn't need to be someone that you're paying or someone that can actually start on his own, So it's like, at what point are they gonna focus on developing outside of just running back? Because I feel like you had that secured already. You lost a receiver in Nelson. Now I know they could. It's not too hard to replace him. He's not anyone special, but he had a pretty solid season for them. I don't see how Drake replaces that at all. I don't see how Drake makes them better at all, because Jacobs is a very solid running back.
Yeah, to me, I don't feel like the Raiders have ever treated him like the running back that he's shown that he is. They've never really treated him like a feature back. To me, there's always been another back there with them for no good reason.
Yeah, like Devontae Booker, and they played Booker, they played Jalen Richard. Now they bring in a guy that's even better than both of them. with Kenyan Drake. And I know some people say, hey, look at the Browns, look at the Chubb and Hunt situation. And I say, I hear you, but I think that's a little different because one, Chubb was only a rookie when they picked up Hunt, and they picked up Hunt after he got in trouble, so it cost them next to nothing. And they re-signed him on a very team-friendly deal. So it's a totally different situation. And then also their receiving core was already complete. When you have a Jarvis and an Odell, yes, Odell has not been what he was in New York and Cleveland yet, but still he's a talent that you don't have to go out and sign someone else. So then they signed Austin Hooper last year. He's an okay tight end. So I don't compare the Browns situation to the Raiders at all. I feel like it's exactly what you said. They, for some reason, for whatever reason, they have not committed to Josh Jacobs and treated him like the running back he showed to be, even though they drafted him in the first round and kind of think the writing's on the wall that maybe he's not for long there.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. I think maybe they don't necessarily believe in him. Maybe we even see a trade there, or or like you said, maybe he's not going to be there. He's still on his rookie deal, right?
Yeah, going into his third season, him and Miles Sanders were the same draft. The difference, though, is Miles Sanders was a second-round pick, so he's only 4 years, whereas Josh Jacobs, they have a fifth-year option on. So they literally have 3 more years that they could have him on low money, 2 more on low money, and then 1 on that 5th year. But I just don't understand or see them they're probably going to do what you said, maybe look to move him because they could get a nice return. And if they don't see him as we see him, then that's probably a smart way to move. But then again, I think of Gruden and Mayock, and I kind of can't pinpoint how they want to build their team anyway. So it's all up in the air at this point with the Raiders. Another free agent that has not been signed yet that I'm surprised by is Chris Carson. Now, I think he falls under the same thing with Galladay, where they kind of like injury history. But we know Chris Carson is extremely talented. He's not Aaron Jones. And once Aaron Jones resigned with the Packers to kind of set the market a little different in terms of running backs, but it would be interesting to see where he ends up and what team is ready to potentially make him their guy.
Yeah, and I mean, I kind of thought that he might be going back to Seattle because I mean they didn't really replace him, so I'm a little surprised that he didn't. That wasn't, or at least hasn't been a lot of talk of that. So maybe they got plans in the draft, or so, because where they pick in the draft, that would be normally where you take a running back. So
they don't have their first round pick. Remember, they gave it up for Jamal Adams.
Oh, true.
I know, but we've seen plenty of second round running backs become talented guys, and you have people like Javonte Williams from North Carolina, or you can wait even a little later for Trey Sermon at Ohio State. We know Seattle has done very well with later round running backs, so maybe that is somewhere to go, or they let the market play out, and Chris Carson notices he's not going to get what he thought.
Yeah, they might be able to resign him. Yeah, so we'll see. Now I want to talk about the elephant in the room. We mentioned them early on, but we haven't really gotten into them. And the Patriots, man, like I think that has to be the early story. I mean, of course, you could talk about what the Bucks have done, what the Cardinals have done, Chiefs. All those guys, they've all done some major moves, but no team has done what the Patriots have been doing. Like, it's like the Patriots really have gone out. And this is why I will always, one of the reasons, I mean, many reasons, but one of the reasons why I will always respect Bill Belichick. Because this offseason that Bill Belichick is having right now is tantamount to him saying, I was wrong. Like, basically, that's what he's saying. I was wrong. We can't, the Patriot way does not work without Tom Brady. I was wrong. Yeah, I was wrong. Okay, so now we're going to go spend some money. We're going to upgrade this talent, and we're going to get back into the picture. And I think that's exactly what they did. I don't think that you can discount what they did. Not only upgrading on defense, the pass rush, but also, you got to think about it like this. They're getting some guys back that opted out last year. Patrick Chung.
Well, Chung retired today, but Dante Hightower.
Oh, damn! I didn't hear. I didn't even know that. But
It
I
happened
mean, still,
literally maybe an hour or two before we got on here. So, but yeah, Chung decided to retire. But yeah, they're getting Hightower back.
get
Um,
Hightower back.
yep.
Uh,
I like one thing I've always liked about Belichick is that he's a chameleon. He will always adjust to his situation. So last year, I think he thought he could do exactly what you said, continue to follow the path he's always followed with Brady. But once you don't have Brady anymore, you can't just continue to follow that path. And I think he's learned that, and he's going back to adding talent around Cam. And I actually think it's very smart that they're keeping Cam, because
yeah,
you can't just we I know Cam had an up and down year last year, but we have to be real. He did not have an off season. He did not have real preseason. He did not have real weapons. So how can we really judge him based off of
yeah,
last year? And now that he's going to get a whole off season, he knows where he's going to be. He doesn't have to do this free agency thing again. He now is no, they did not sign a alpha wide receiver type, but they added a Jonnu Smith, who's a very good tight end. They added a Hunter Henry, who's a solid tight end. Bringing in Aguilar, who can play in the slot. N'Keal Harry, still a young receiver. No, he has not proven much yet, but who knows? He may eventually take that step. And then their defense was already good. They had lost some pieces because of opt outs. And now to have Hightower alone is a major, major addition to come back to the
yeah,
team.
huge upgrade.
Um, yeah, like I don't think anyone could just
Oh,
look
they
at the
got,
Patriots.
you know what? Well, Chung and also Kyle Van Noy,
Man,
re-signed
yeah,
with them as well.
yep.
So I
And he
mean,
after
like,
the Dolphins cut him, yep. So no one can look at what the Patriots were last year and make an assumption that that team is on the decline or that they have to fully rebuild or anything because of what Belichick has done this offseason and just fully changed what he's normally done. They have not usually been a team that spent money. You know what I mean? And they've
yeah,
done that this
exactly.
time. And now it's going to be interesting to see what they become this season because that's when we'll have an answer on was it Brady that upgraded Belichick or did they both help each other?
I mean, I don't think that it's logical to think that it is anything other than they both help each other. That was a synergy, and it just so happened that Brady found himself another spot where he could,
Agreed.
continue that level. But what Belichick has done to me, it was perfect. I mean, not perfect. I mean, perfect. He probably would have. There's there's quarterbacks out there that probably would be better fits. I mean, nothing against Cam. I think but I think Cam is the best available for him. He's the best available quarterback in this, especially given the situation, like you said, not having the offseason last year, not having a preseason, the COVID situation, not having weapons. Giving Cam another shot is probably the best option that he could do given what was available. Because I mean, you get Cam back in there, he doesn't have to learn a new offense. Because even if he didn't have an offseason or preseason, he played in the offense, so he knows it.
Mm-hmm.
So you just give him, the offseason, the preseason this year, just get that much more comfortable with the offense, with his new weapons. And one thing that we mentioned before that I think that the Patriots kind of uniquely took advantage of is like we talked about with the wide receiver market, where probably the top two wide receivers stay with their teams. The top tight ends in this free agents market did not.
Mm-hmm.
And they got the two top tight ends
You got both of
in
them.
this
Yep.
free. They went and got the two weapons in that market. So I think that to me was a bit of a coup. Like that's a shrewd move because if you look at the landscape, you see what you need, and you say, okay, I I may not be able to get the top flight wide receivers, but I can get the two top options in this position that I know how to. I mean, obviously with their track record, we know Patriots know how to use tight ends. So I think like that to me was the masterful move right there. That was Belichick, classic Belichick. Then, like I said, Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne, I think those are receivers that they haven't been big time receivers in the league, but I think within the Patriots offense and what they do, I think that those guys could be very productive, very productive. Because
Yeah, I can
those are
see
both guys that
Aguilar.
can stretch the field.
Mm-hmm. And I can see Aguilar being put in that Edelman Welker role because that's where Aguilar has been best is playing within that slot position. So I can see him filling that role easily. And also something that I think some people may overlook is Cam Newton's best year, his MVP year. did not happen with a big time wide receiver. It
Yeah,
happened
tight
with
end.
the Greg Olson. You know what I mean? That
Mm-hmm.
was his main target, at tight end. And you go back to that now with John Smith. I know people say Henry's good, but I think John is going to be the main tight end there. So you go back to that with with Cam and John Smith, and you probably build the offense from there on out. I
Yeah.
think they could look to add a running back again in the draft. They're probably gonna be there at, but I think the 16th pick. That's probably a good range
15th.
for.
They got
Say it again.
15th because I've been looking at trying to.
Yeah.
I've been looking at
Okay.
scenarios where we trade back with them. My like I just want to trade back with them. That's all I want to do.
So yeah,
But
that's a range where Najee Harris or Travis Etienne could be taken.
yeah,
And I know Damian Harris is another player they have. Sony Michelle, unfortunately, he is talented, but his knees have failed him. So you can look to see them add another weapon to the offense and take another step to putting together something that they can win with. And I know Buffalo is still considered the class of the AFC East as they should be, but in no way should the people delete the Patriots at this point. And I think
now I think the
is
Patriots put themselves right back in contention in the AFC East with
yeah, and
with just these moves.
it's always been the Patriots have been a team I actually never wanted to see succeed because they had so much success for so long. But at this point, because of the way things have shifted and because of having Cam, I want to see them succeed. Like I want to see them bounce back. I want to see them be able to get back into the mix and for some of this talk to go away where people are questioning how much of a great coach Belichick has been over
Yeah,
his
it's
time.
ridiculous. That's ridiculous talk. But
Hmm.
yeah, I want to see. I mean, I want to see Cam succeed. I want to see what these new pieces look like together. I mean, I'm very curious. Um, and I think like one of the things I would look at, and this is what I look at most of the time, is the Patriots possibly trading up in the draft, possibly going after one of those quarterbacks as somebody to groom behind Cam, or even looking at one of those elite offensive options. Like you say,
Receiver.
they don't have a number one receiver. If they could trade up to a 10, if a Devonta Smith slips, or I doubt it, but if Jamar Chase slips, or
We not
Waddle.
having that. Pick six, baby.
Um,
Philadelphia Eagles.
I mean, yeah, but if they hadn't
But yeah,
already
I know
gotten
what you mean.
the two top tight ends, I'd say you trade up and get a Kyle Pitts. You looking good
Yeah,
out there.
yeah,
But
yeah.
um, I,
I never thought about
I
that. I hadn't thought about them trading up for a receiver, but yeah, that's possible.
yeah,
That's
I
possible.
expect them to be active. My moral of the story is I expect the Patriots to continue to be active and aggressive because, like I said, once you get a guy like Belichick to admit, you know what, I was wrong. I was doing things wrong. Once he shifts that philosophy, it's no telling. It's no telling what he might do. Because now you
Absolutely.
got his mind focused on something else. He might, you can't. Nothing, I would say expect the unexpected from them, which we already seen.
Yep, no one expected them to come out and spend big money in free agency because that's not something he's done in the past. So at this point, everything's up on the table. Everything is an option for them. And that 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 thing you just said now is very intriguing to me. Like them moving up and potentially getting Devonta Smith and adding that would be big time. At that point, their offense is elite.
Yeah, like I said, I wouldn't put it past him. If he has the opportunity to do it, I could see him easily doing that. Just
Another
because
one,
that's the mode he's in right now.
yeah, another one. I know they lost Joe Thuney to the Chiefs. Maybe you can see them move up and maybe take the kid Rashawn Slater from
Yeah,
from
so,
Northwestern. Slide him in the guard until he's ready to take over at tackle. Like everything is on the board with the Patriots, and it's gonna be interesting to see where they go. One team, just to pivot real quick, is the Bucks.
yeah.
I like to see how they brought in everyone back.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone to a point. Fournette's not back yet, but I think they probably will eventually get that done too. It's smart of them to just keep the band together because their
Yeah.
band was not old. You know what I mean? Like Chris Godwin's young, Shaquille Barrett is still young. I was surprised to see Gronk get 10 million, but at the same time, he fits everything there. He is him and Brady are
The
like a
Super Bowl, man.
package.
Give him his money.
Yeah, him and Brady are like a package deal at this point.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, we're not gonna trip over the money. They re-signed Ryan Suckup, who's a very good kicker. Brady gave some money back. So the Bucks are trying to continue to keep their window open and potentially repeat. I'm not going to say they will repeat because it's hard for anyone to repeat. We haven't seen a repeat Super Bowl champion in years at this point, so I won't just guarantee it, but they're definitely putting themselves in that market to be right there in the mix at the top of the NFC. Uh, what do you think about what's going on with the Saints with Jameis? And
Yeah, I want to talk about the Saints. Before I hit that, I want to just a comment. It's just funny to me the kind of the dichotomy between what the Patriots are doing and what the Bucks are doing. The Bucks pretty much just did the exact opposite of what the Patriots did. Like, Patriots are all new, spending money, get new guys in there. Bucks bringing the whole band back together. I just think, it's just funny to see that. And but the Saints, and it's funny what you're talking about the Bucks, and like you said, them trying to run it back. I'm thinking about that NFC South. I'm just like, I don't know if they have a challenge there at all. I can see them easily taking that NFC South. I think every team there has gotten a little bit worse. Jameis re-signing. I'm not mad at it. I feel like that Jameis deserves that shot, and I think he'll be great there. Only problem with that, Jameis at his best is still not Drew Brees. And
no, he's not Drew Brees. No, but I kind of don't know what Jameis is. You know what I mean? To me, when we found out that the kid could not see for most of his career, to me, it's like, I don't know what exactly. Like, how the hell do you go to Florida State, one of the biggest college football programs there are, and then you're the number one pick by the Bucks? How do you go 6 years or 5 years, however long he was there, plus his college career, not being able to see? So I'm really am curious that now he has that LASIK. Now he has a coach who is an innovative offensive mind. He has a dynamic weapon in Alvin Kamara. Michael Thomas is still one of the best wide receivers. I think they could look to add another receiver. They lost Emmanuel Sanders. He's in Buffalo now, so I think they can look to add another one. But I am interested to see what type of success Jameis can have with this Saints situation. I just hope the Saints commit to him as the quarterback and not try this old. I'm even blanking on his name right this second. Taysom Hill.
Yeah, I think it's a weird situation there because I do believe 2 years ago, maybe, Sean Payton was planning on handing the keys to Taysom Hill once Drew Brees retired. I feel like once the Jameis situation presented itself, he couldn't even help himself. He had to go that route. And I think that's where we are now. They kind of feel like they, still want Taysom Hill on the team. They like his role in the team, but I can't see a situation where even if, let's say, they bring him into camp as an open competition, there's no way Cam has thrown for 5,000 yards in a season, 30 touchdowns. He's going to beat him out. Like, so I mean, I'm sorry, I meant Jameis. I think I said. James, I believe, is going to be the quarterback there. But like I said, like you said, it's hard to even say what Jameis is, because if I've had these talks with other people, and I don't think people understand. Unless you play sports and have vision problems, I don't know if you truly grasp. I can't see for nothing. I wear contacts.
Same.
I've had issues where I've showed up to a game and didn't have my glasses or my contact fell out. It's not easy. And I don't play, and I never played quarterback. So to think about Jameis not being able to see it and playing at this level, throwing for 5,000 yards, is mind-boggling to me. And just the simple fact that he can see, and then like you said, being with a mind like Sean Payton, sitting behind Drew Brees, we don't know. We don't know. That's probably the biggest X factor in at least the NFC. I have to say he's probably the biggest X factor. Like, you don't know. He might go out there and tear it up.
Exactly. Like, what if he is a totally different quarterback just because of his vision? Like, not even adding the Kamara and the Michael Thomas factor and the Sean Payton factor, just because he has full vision now. he may be a totally different guy. Now I know the Saints have given Taysom Hill this foo-foo 4-year, $140 million contract. And I say foo-foo because every year is voidable.
Yeah.
So it's not a real franchise quarterback money. Some people are trying to say, oh, you saw the deal they gave him. They're committed to him at quarterback. And I say, no, just you look a little deeper. No, they really just gave him a 1-year deal. That was their way of giving themselves some cap room and
Mhm.
spreading things out. And like you said, if you go into a competition with Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill, and all things are equal, and there's no bias to who you want to start, there is no way that guy is beating out Jameis Winston. There's no way. He cannot throw. We've seen
What you
him
gotta
play
understand
this
is
year.
this. What you got, and I think that people looking at it a little wrong. Um, Taysom Hill is not a full-time quarterback.
Mm-mm.
So the contract that he got was almost like as unique as the player that he is.
Mm-hmm.
Like they didn't necessarily commit to him as a quarterback, but they kind of had to pay him and to make the numbers look like a quarterback because that's technically his position. But they kind of just committed to him as we want you on the team. We like what you do. That's why it was, the 4 years, every year voidable type. It was a unique quarterback for a unique player. I mean, I'm sorry, a unique contract for a unique player. That's pretty much what they gave him. Because I think that they want him there. And even with Jameis there, I still think they want Taysom to still have that same type of role because we've seen Taysom do things on the field beyond playing quarterback that have been amazing. I've seen him look good at wide receiver.
Running back, yep. Tight end.
Coming out the backfield. So you
Mm-hmm.
still want that guy on your team and you
Hey, he's a
still want him to
weapon.
be, yeah, you still want him to be there. At quarterback, sometimes you may want him still to be there. So I don't knock that. But like you said, I don't think that court that those numbers they're not of course they're not real quarterback numbers. I would have liked if they committed a little bit more to Jameis though. I would have liked to see that, but I don't know if that's more of a mutual thing where it's like I want to see. It might have been mutual on both sides because Jameis might have said, "You just gave that guy a 4-year deal. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if I want to commit here if I'm not guaranteed to be the starter." So
Mm-hmm.
just a lot going on there, and
And
that's why I said I
also
don't.
for Jameis's side, he could have feel like, hey, if I play this year and I play my best football, I can get a real franchise quarterback deal
Exactly.
on the market next year. And it
Mm-hmm.
may just be from the Saints. It could happen from the Saints
Mm-hmm.
mid-season. But
Yeah.
it's only smart for Jameis to take a
Yeah.
1-year prove-it deal because of the options that could arise for him going forward. It would make no sense for him to commit right now to a lesser deal just to say, "Oh, I'm somewhere long term." Now he has too much talent and ability, and he has too much opportunity to really cash in if he makes things work there. That I think it was best for both sides to do what they have done right now with him. Um, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in New Orleans. It's definitely a unique situation that I think we have not seen in many places. Um, they're going from a Hall of Fame style quarterback who's been in New Orleans, who's helped rebuild not only that team but that city, into a situation now where the future at quarterback is totally up in the air, and we'll see how it plays out. But at least they have options.
Yeah, good options. They're not in a terrible spot. I just like I said for right now. I just see the Bucks like if
They're the
they've gone
class.
to the point where they are the class in that division. Like you look at a Carolina and it's like you don't know what to make of it. They got, one of the better players in the league, in Christian McCaffrey, but he missed almost a whole season last year. And
Mm-hmm.
there's talk of him being traded. There's talk of Bridgewater moving. They lost one of their best receivers. It's just,
Yeah,
I don't
Curtis
see any.
Samuel. Yep.
Yeah, Samuel signed today. I forget where he just signed today.
Washington.
Watch, yep. So it's like it's a lot of flux going on in the NFC South. Besides the
The
defending
Bucks.
champions
Yep.
who just completely ran it right back.
And it's crazy
But
to see if you look at just last year, where you looked at the NFC South as maybe one of the strongest divisions, and you thought, okay, the Saints are probably the best team, but we knew the Bucks had just got Brady, they had just brought in Gronk, they had a lot of things coming in that they were gonna compete. And then we did not think Atlanta was just gonna be flat out terrible. You thought Carolina was going to take a step forward with Adam Bridgewater and Robbie Anderson and a new head coach. So it's crazy to see 1 year how much has changed, and now it's just
Exactly.
looking like the Bucks and the Bucks as a whole. You know what I mean? Like they're the division.
Away with that division. To me, I don't see
Hmm.
a competitor. But other team I do want to talk about, and then we'll run around the league, talk about some other spots too. But I want to talk about the Chiefs. What do you think about what the Chiefs has done so far?
Well,
Out.
they
Go ahead.
go ahead. Oh, okay. They made their main priority fortifying their offensive line, and they had some injuries there and some aging guys. I know they let Eric Fisher go, but they brought in Thuney, and then today they signed another. His name is Skip. Like, man, his name is blanking me right now, but they signed another offensive lineman, and so
And they signed
I
the tight
think,
end Blake Bell, who
yep, I think they're doing the
underrated
best.
underrated because he was a Chief before he was a Cowboy last year. He was a
Hmm.
Chief before he was a Cowboy, and I think he's more of a blocking tight end. So I think
Hmm.
that was almost also lumped in with offensive line as well.
Yeah, they're doing the best thing. Like we saw last year, that was what held them back. The Bucks killed them up front, and that's what caused the whole Super Bowl to swing in the Bucks' favor. So they're doing the right thing by trying to fortify their line. Thuney is one of the best offensive linemen in the league. So to
Mhm.
have him come in there and, and to help protect probably the best quarterback in the league is the right thing to do. They didn't have any holes anywhere else. I know Le'Veon's a free agent again, but they have CEH. They may potentially have Darren Williams coming back. He had opted out last year. The receiving core was already great. So they're doing the right thing, just focusing on offensive line and making sure they're protecting their superstar quarterback. And we know the Chiefs are going to be a factor for a long, long time, as long as Mahomes and Andy V and Kelsey and Hill are there. And then on defense, they have Thornwell as a young player who's growing. You have Chris Jones on the line. Like they have the pieces there to continue to be a factor. So I think they did the right thing by focusing on refortifying their offensive line.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I was going. I think that the Chiefs addressed what they needed to address. They lost the Super Bowl because that offensive line wasn't healthy, and they couldn't protect Mahomes. So they went out and those guys, like you said, were older. They were hurt. Their return wasn't necessarily a certainty. So they went and they upgraded. Thuney's an upgrade. I
Mm-hmm.
believe the other guy. I can't even think of the name of the other guy they signed, but I think he's an upgrade because I know. I heard also that they were in the mix for Trent Williams.
Yeah, that's
Trying
what
to
they were
sign
trying.
Trent Williams.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if they were willing to spend like that, obviously this offensive line is a priority. They're not fooling around. So
Oh, they let it be known when they released Eric Fisher, who is a pretty good lineman, but he is getting up there age wise, that they had to do something immediately early in free agency to continue to have solid line play. Because that was their weakness. That was the one thing that caused that game to change. Like Mahomes
mhm.
was running for his life
Yeah.
all game, and no matter how good of a quarterback you have, no matter how good your receivers are, no matter anything, if the line cannot protect the quarterback, you have nothing. You're not winning the Super Bowl if all game he has to try to make Superman type of plays. And also
Mhm.
that'll open it up to potentially getting him hurt. So they didn't get Trent Williams, and we know Trent Williams is just a potential Hall of Fame level lineman, but you don't have to get a Hall of Fame level lineman to have a good old line. You get the pieces there, and you allow those pieces to gel. We're going to have a regular offseason this time around. So I think Kansas City has done the right thing. Focus on rebuilding that line, and that's what they're doing. We'll probably even see them continue to do those type of things in the draft also, because you want to stay young in that area also.
Um, Now, other than that, I mean, there's been a bunch of other signings all around the league. But what I want to kind of do here is give me a signing that you feel like was a sleeper, like somebody that you felt like, went under the radar. And then also give me somebody that is a perfect fit for a team, any team. And it's just like you're just wondering why is that deal not done yet?
Okay. The perfect fit, and it can't happen at this point, was what we already talked about, was Will Fuller with the Packers. Because I just don't understand why the Packers will not invest in another receiver outside of Devontae Adams to try to continue to give Rodgers a chance to continue to chase championships. That was my perfect fit. That's not going to happen. Now, the one move that I think is going under the radar that's a good move is Jon Johnson to the Browns. He's a very good safety. And if people don't remember, they drafted Del Pitt last year, and Del Pitt got hurt. So maybe there's some questions about his return. And if you have questions about what he's going to be, bringing in Johnson, who we already know what he is as a safety, to solidify a secondary that is pretty good out there in Cleveland and a defense that's pretty good is a smart move for Cleveland, and Cleveland is continuing to show that they're going to be a team that's going to start to be a factor year in and year out.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. That was a surprising one for me. But like you said, it just kind of shows you that they, there must be some question marks with Delpit, because Jon Johnson was the best, to me, the best second, secondary or defensive back available, and I know that because I've been looking at it a lot. But speaking of that, my perfect signing that I didn't think would have even been available, that's out there, and this involves my team, so I'm dying out here. I'm just like, come on, man. Is Adoree Jackson. With the Titans releasing Adoree Jackson, I'm like, how do we not do this already? How is this not done? What does he want? Like, through the Dak deal, through restructuring contracts, we created a situation where we actually have cap space out here. And when something like that falls into your lap, you kind of like, why is that not done already? Like, let's just lock him up, and then we'll worry about the draft when the draft comes. Like, because I kind of feel like uh, the plan is always draft the corner and then pay a safety. But me, I'm like, yo, if you gotta alter that, you gotta do this on the fly. Like, if the corner is available, then you go get the corner, and then worry about the safety in the draft, or even draft another position. You know, but I just feel like us going at the Dory Jackson, I'm like, how are we not doing this already? Like, how is this not already something that's done? Because I mean, you're not going to get a better corner. To me, I don't think you get a better corner than him out of the draft.
Maybe not in year one, but I do think Surtain has a higher ceiling.
Oh, yeah. And Faraday, I think the Surtain and Faraday have higher ceilings. I'm talking about right now.
Yeah,
I'm talking about bringing in a guy right now. No, you're not getting a guy that's going to be better than Dory Jackson right now.
Yeah, I don't think either one of them would play on his level from year one. Also, another corner I thought you guys would be interested in is Casey Hayward, because he's been released also. I just don't understand what Dallas is doing defensively at all. Like, it doesn't seem like they are putting as much certainty. Certainty's probably not the right word. Probably not putting enough emphasis on that side of the ball, where I believe that that's their only weakness. I mean, they could probably get better offensive line at this point. They've lost some of their strength there, but defense is what's holding them back. Like, you have all the offensive pieces. You have your long-term quarterback. You have three big-time wide receivers. Philly, we wish we could have one. You have Zeke. You know what I mean? Like, they're offensively, it's done. So at what point do they commit to building their defense? Like, I think the Dan Quinn hire was a good hire as a defensive coordinator, but if he doesn't have the pieces to build something, nothing matters. You know what I mean? Like, players are what matters. You have to have the players to produce. You know what I mean? Like, we've seen Dak play all world and them still go 8-8. You know what I mean? Like, so it's kind of just like what we were saying with the Chiefs. Like, yeah, Mahomes could do everything, but if the O line's not there, it does not matter. So at some point, you guys do have to address that secondary, and I think the secondary is number one that you have to address. I think your linebackers are okay. D line is something you could draft and develop, but that secondary has to be addressed, and it has to be addressed immediately. I kind of thought Xavier McKinney was someone you should have drafted last year instead of CeeDee Lamb. That didn't happen. So at what point are you going to answer those questions. I don't see a safety that you take in the top 10 this year. I do think that Surtain and Fairley, and I like J.C. Horn from South Carolina a lot. He's Joe Horn's son. So if you did trade back, like you were speaking about before, that's somebody you could get in the middle of the first round. The plays are there, but is Dallas going to execute the plan?
And, I don't want to stay too much on Dallas because we haven't done much, so it's not really
Yeah,
much to
that's why I
talk
haven't
about.
brought up the Eagles. We
But
ain't both done anything
yeah,
either.
but I feel like the emphasis is more on the draft with them. We have, I think, either between 9 and 11 picks in this draft. So I feel like, the emphasis is to go in the draft, rebuild the defense through the draft. They'll probably grab a couple secondary guys. They'll probably grab some defensive linemen. You may see a linebacker. I think that's the plan. Because like you said before, it's not much else we need to upgrade, or you can add depth all day, but it's not much else we need to change or so to me it's all got to go towards defense. But I would like us to, because we have the money, you have to spend it. So I would like us to spend it on an impact defensive guy. Like, to me, if it's going to be a safety, Malik Hooker.
Stay healthy.
Shoot.
He's there.
Yeah, he's one of the guys. He hasn't been healthy, but I said Keanu Neal's a guy that he may not be the biggest name, but I know that
be an upgrade.
Dan Quinn is familiar with him. He'll know the scheme, and that's the kind of guy I'm looking for. Somebody that can kind of, because I feel like that's what the defense was missing more than anything last year. You had a new defensive coordinator and a new defense being installed, but nobody that knew it. There was no veteran presence on our defense that knew Mike Nolan's scheme and his defense. So I think that was a big part of our problem last year. They were all learning on the fly, and nobody was really directing traffic. You got to have a guy on defense that's directing traffic, knows where everybody's supposed to be. So that's one of the things where I wouldn't mind a Keanu Neal for that main factor. That I know that he knows defense, he has experience, and he'll be able to, especially on the back end, make sure everybody's in the right spots. But anyway, moving on from that, let me talk about my sleeper, because I think this is a sleeper, not necessarily just because of the signing, but because of what it means or what I feel like it meant. And that was Aaron Jones. I feel like Aaron Jones re-signing with the Packers means to me that what Aaron Rodgers set out to do at the end of this last season worked at least a little bit. The fact that they were willing to commit, because I don't feel like going in, if Aaron Rodgers didn't do what he did, I don't think that they re-signed Aaron Jones. That's how I feel.
I was surprised they re-signed Aaron Jones, so I agree with you. I was surprised.
Yeah, I was, because that's not a Packers move to me. So
no, they just drafted A.J. Dillon in the second round last year.
Exactly. I feel like that, means that he is at least kind of, gotten through them and to the point where, we need to make sure that, we're staying competitive and you're keeping the weapons. Hopefully it ends up with him also getting at least one other receiver. I think that's something that they need desperately. I actually like a couple of their receivers, but as third and fourth receivers, like they have no number two. They have a clear number one, but that number two is something that they don't have. And that's something you need, because the number two guy is the guy that can either do one or two things to me. Number two receiver always has to be able to do one or two things. And that's either A, take advantage of the weaker matchup because the number one is going to get the better corner, or B, make it so that they cannot roll coverage to that number one receiver. Your number two has to be able to do one of those two things, or they're ineffective to me. And I feel like they don't have that guy. They don't have a guy that can do that. So I feel like that's one of the things I feel like they need to do. And hopefully with them spending money on Aaron Jones and, committing to that, hopefully that they're looking at doing something like that too, even though they haven't done it yet.
They haven't done it yet. Maybe this time around they do it in the draft, maybe with somebody like Rashad Bateman or Rondell Moore or Terrence Marshall in the second round. Like, they have to commit to getting another receiver. Like you said, I like Lazard. He's a solid player. Valdez Scantlin's an okay receiver. Like, they have guys, but they're more of that 3-4 role than the number two. Exactly. Like, they have to finally add that second receiver. Yes, Devontae Adams is so good that it doesn't matter. Like, you can't stop him. But what you can do is allow him to do him and not worry about anyone else. You know what I mean? Like, so that's how you get into a situation like they did against the Bucks, where they let him do him. He didn't have a great game, but he had an okay game, but no one else was a threat. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Robert Tanyan's a solid tight end, but it got to a point where they couldn't do the dinker dunk and they couldn't run through Aaron Jones because the score had got to a certain situation. So when you're just trying to air it out, it can't all be on Rodgers and Adams. They have to start to add another guy. I thought that guy should have been Fuller. That's now not going to happen. He's in Miami, but I don't see them paying Galladay because it kind of doesn't fit him and Adams. But they need like
I don't see. Yeah, I don't see.
they need a speed guy. They need somebody that can help
I
stretch
think
the
Godwin would
field.
have been perfect though. If Godwin made it to the
Yeah,
market,
that's what I think that was where their eyes were. That was the plan. Once he's not there, I understand maybe saying, okay, we're not going to spend as much as we would have had to do to get him, but you don't just then ignore the whole position again. Like if I'm Aaron Rodgers, if it happens again, I become extremely frustrated.
but this is another one of those drafts where they will have opportunity where they're drafting. They just
Absolutely.
for some, and it doesn't usually happen like this as far as I can remember. This is a second year in a row where the wide receiver class is pretty deep,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
where they should
Second
be
year in a
able
row
to
was
get,
special.
yeah, where they should be able to get in there and grab a guy if they with their first pick, which is I wouldn't be mad at that because look what happened
Mm-hmm.
last year with some of the guys that went even later in the first. Like
Mm-hmm.
Justin Jefferson wasn't a high pick.
Yeah, 20. We were 21, 3, so he went right after us with 24th pick.
Yeah,
Um, a little higher than their drafting, but still, you don't forget Justin Jefferson, Brandon Ayuk.
yeah.
Brandon Ayuk went to the
Those guys
49ers. The
after that, like, yeah,
49ers, yeah,
exactly.
had the last pick of the second to last pick of the first round because they were in the Super Bowl, and he had a very good rookie year. Like he really would have looked nice with the Packers, you
Yeah,
know. Um, Even if you go into the second round, uh, I know Denzel Mims didn't get really going until later in the season because he had an injury, but that is someone who could have really excelled with the Packers. If you look at previous years, AJ Brown was a second round pick. Um, Even Devontae Adams was a second round pick. Like, so there's always guys in the first or second round. I mean, the end of the first round and in the second round of draft that could come in and be immediate impacts, especially when they don't have to be the guy. Like Justin Jefferson being able to adjust and grow in his time because they had Thielen and they didn't have to depend on him. That allowed him to grow quicker and allowed him to become comfortable faster because it was not a forced thing. Green Bay, you have the same situation. You have the exact same situation. You have the running back in Aaron Jones. You have the alpha receiver in Devontae Adams. Like Minnesota had Dalvin and they had Thielen. You have a solid tight end in Robert Tonyan. Like, just go get that second piece and watch your offense explode. And it's already one of the best offenses because of Aaron Rodgers.
we got probably the best offense in the NFC. Go get another piece and cut that. But to me, that is what would take them over the top because it's even funny thinking about it. The Bucks weren't able to do to the Packers what they were able to do to the Chiefs. That was a different game. They weren't able to even get to Aaron Rodgers the same type of way. I mean, they got to him, but not the same type of way. He wasn't running for
Nah,
his life
yeah,
because
yeah.
he's a different player. Whereas if he had another, just think if he had another option at receiver, that'd have been a different game to me. I think that breaks the game open because they can't defend Devontae the way were defending
Mm-hmm.
Devontae. So we'll see, man. Hopefully, but like I said, I think the Aaron Jones thing is just promising. It's promising to think that what Aaron said at the end of the season had an effect, and you could maybe possibly see them do something a little different this year. Um, but yeah, I mean, NFL free agency is still to me is a lot of signings left. It's a
Oh
lot
yeah,
we can
it's a
see
lot
go
of
on,
guys still
especially
there.
yeah, like I talked about, with the Cowboys in the secondary. The craziest thing about it is we haven't made any moves, but none of the guys I want to sign is signed, except Jon
Hmm.
Johnson. That's the only guy that I would have wanted that sign. So there's still a lot.
Somebody that's still out there that could potentially be someone the Packers also should look at is Juju.
Yeah,
I'm very
yeah,
surprised that Juju has not been signed yet, and I think he also could fit that role of that number two guy that they can use in all different types of roles. Like he's able to play inside, he's able to play outside. Now he's not a deep burner, but he would fit everything they need opposite of Devontae Adams. So I know that there's been some links with the Jets, but at the same time, I know the Jets have already spent money on Corey Davis. I know they have Denzel Mims. And I think recently they signed Keelan Cole, so I don't know what's going to happen there with Juju, but that's somebody else the Packers could look at. I wanted the Eagles to look at Juju. I know our finances are probably not in a situation where you could do that. You always can make things work with the cap, so if they wanted to, they could. But also, we need to. The Eagles need to be looking in that secondary market. Also, there's a lot of corners that are still there. Like you said, there's Adoree Jackson. There's Casey Hayward. I think Patrick Peterson just signed.
he's
You
fine.
got you got Richard Sherman still out there. Kyle Fuller just got released by the Bears. Like there's a lot of corners still there, and we're a team that has one cornerback, literally one, Darius Slay. Jalen Mills
Yeah.
went to the Patriots. Uh, Avante Maddox, we cannot depend on him to be our number two. That was proven this season. Rodney McLeod is our safety, but he had tore his ACL, so you don't know what you're going to get more there. So just like with you guys, I need to see my team start to make some moves.
I mean, I'm
And
hoping that y'all, because there's moves that y'all, I feel like it's there for the taking for y'all that would make me because you guys already have a number one corner. That makes it even like a little bit. Because I mean, I mean, I feel like there's two Patriots corners that's available to me. I think Stephon Gilmore and J.C. Jackson are both going to get moved, or at least one of them. So I mean, you get one of those guys, things get dark in the NFC. To me, even with a new quarterback, I don't want to see that in the NFC East. Also, like we both said, like I said earlier, it's everybody that was available as far as a secondary player is still available, except
still there.
John, the top guy. So it's a lot of depth out there. One of the other teams I did want to talk about, and this is also to me a sleeper signing too, is the Cardinals. They went out and got, first of all, when J.J. Watt was released, it was a lot of teams floated out there. No one ever said the
Packers,
Cardinals.
Browns. Yeah, nobody said the Cardinals.
Ended up, signing with the Cardinals. And that's not a bad spot. I mean, defensively, he's going to have an impact there. And then you look at them going out and signing AJ Green. I of the school thought that the demise of AJ Green is greatly exaggerated. I don't think the player that we saw last year is the player that he really is. I think that he did not want to be there. He wanted to be traded in off season. They did not do it. They franchised him. Um, and I don't think he wanted to be there. So I think that we're going to see a different type of motivation to AJ Green. And it wasn't that long ago that AJ Green was a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL.
Oh
So
yeah, AJ Green, man. Before the injuries, he was arguably, like you said, a top five, top three receiver. One of my favorite receivers. I really liked AJ Green. I'm a little more concerned about his body at this point than it sounds like you are. But the good thing is going to Arizona, he will not be asked to do as much as he was previously. DeAndre Hopkins is the guy. Christian Kirk is still there. So he will be able to just blend and be used to his strengths. That's all they will ask him to do. JJ Watt was a strong signing for them, put him on the opposite side of Chandler Jones. They lost Hassan Reddick. He went back to Carolina. So it's good for them to get Watt to replace that. I I don't know what they're gonna do at running back. They lost Drake. You know what I mean? Drake's with the Raiders, which neither one of us understood, but that's what happened. But
yeah, I
that's the
feel like
ones.
they're a destination to me for Chris Carson.
Mm,
Um, or
yeah,
they may address that in the draft.
yeah, draft or Carson. Yeah. I know that there was some talks of them being interested in Trent Williams because we know they need to get their
Yeah.
old line in, right? But he's back
Mhm.
with the 49ers, so that's over. 49ers also signed Alex Mack. So the Cardinals, I like the moves with Watt. We'll see with Green, but I do really think they have to figure out that O line because that's the last
Yeah.
thing that's holding them back. We saw Kyler Murray. start the season at a certain level and kind of didn't end at that level. And it wasn't more about his play, it was more about how much beating his body took. You know what I mean? Due to that O line not being anything really to help protect him. So that's what they need to figure out. I was kind of surprised last year. I was kind of surprised they didn't draft an offensive lineman early. You could have had like Mekhi Becton, who went to the Jets, I believe. Then the kid Jedrick Wells went to Tampa. So those were some of the guys I thought Arizona would be interested in. They end up drafting Isaiah Simmons, and he's still very young. They have to figure out how to particularly use him. I think that's why they let Reddick walk, Hassan Reddick walk, because they're going to use him strictly at linebacker now. But they have to get their offensive line in order. That's the last step for Arizona to be able to compete fully with the NFC West teams, because the NFC West is stacked.
Yeah. Not there, man. All right. So, like I said, we'll probably, come back, circle back to free agency, NFL, recap it. We got NBA trade deadline coming up. Couple little moves here and there. I know we got PJ Tucker just moved to Milwaukee. Trevor Ariza went to Miami. So those are kind of the opening shots.
Strong moves for both teams.
Yeah, those kind of some of the opening shots, but I think it's going to be a lot more going on as we really get into trade deadline. I think that this is like the calm book for the storm. I don't know if I got my alerts on all day. I've been hearing this team is not interested in trading this player. This team is not interested in trading this player. I think that all goes out the window by the end of tomorrow. I think all that goes out the window and people start talking for real.
You got to the 4th or the 5th for the trade deadline. I think, like you said, I think some teams are just posturing right now, and they're saying this guy's not being traded because they want to see the offers get increased. You know what I mean? That's really what it's all about. And as that happens, we'll probably see some of these names move. I still don't believe that the Raptors aren't going to move Lowry, because it just doesn't make sense to keep him and to lose him after this year for nothing.
Yeah. Lowry, and then you got I've seen it. You got Lowry, who's on last year's deal, and then you got Norman Powell's on last year's deal. Who are you going to resign? You're not resigning both. And I think you just played Van Vliet, so we know what. That's what I'm saying. Some of these teams are just, like you said, just kind of posturing. Like what's another guy they said is not going to move. I can't believe that the Sacramento Kings are going to hold on to I can't think his name right now.
Buddy Hield?
Harrison Barnes. No, Harrison Barnes.
Oh, okay.
Like, for what? It doesn't even make any sense. He's too old to fit your timeline. Y'all paying him $20 million a year. Yeah, that and for them to come out and say, "Oh, we're not interested in trading," doesn't make sense. Now, somebody that I've heard about being traded that they come out and said they're not trading, that does make sense, is John Collins. Now, a lot of teams would want John Collins. I
never understood that one.
The problem with John Collins is that he's on the last year of his rookie deal still. So a lot of teams are not willing to give up enough for a player that either A, they're going to have to break the bank to pay, or B, they're going to lose at the end after the season. So that's a tough one. That's a tough one to do at the deadline.
And I kind of think they wouldn't. It's not about them paying him. I think they would pay him. It's that I'm not sure Collins is just going to commit to saying, "Oh yeah, I'm going to resign with you." And he's going to go out and get that max offer from whoever gives it to him.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, that's what I'm saying. You have to get him to commit to stay, and you have to pay him. But the teams that I think he would, it would be a no-brainer they'd stay with, may not be able to pay him. And then the other like the teams that can pay him, he probably doesn't stay with. So that's why that one situation is tricky. Like I said, they should have moved off of him in the offseason. So before the season started, they should have traded him. There's no way you come.
They should sign him and keep him. We being honest.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that goes without saying. But if they're not going to, then you get rid of him going into the season where somebody can get a full season with him. Half a season of a player that could walk, I don't know if you're gonna get much for that.
You're not gonna get the return you want.
So John Collins is a guy that I don't think moves, and like you said, they should pay him and keep him. Like, why not?
Yeah, like I don't understand. I really, really do not understand why he's not wanted there. Is it maybe there's some issues that we don't know about? I don't get it at all. I have not understood why he was even being talked about being moved. Maybe him and Trey Young don't get along, but they both kind of say that's not true.
I'm gonna say,
So it doesn't make
on the
sense.
court.
They play great together on the court.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't make sense to move him at all. That's a young team that's going to
Six
continue to
games
get
since the
better.
coaching change. 6 in a row since the coaching change, and they were winning tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not changing anything. If I if I win 7 games in a row going up to the trade deadline, nobody's going anywhere.
Nothing.
That's just me. I wish I was winning 6 games in a row. That damn it. So yeah, and we'll talk about an NBA free trade deadline a lot next week. We'll get into that for real. But what I want to talk about is the big event that's technically starting tonight, man. March Madness. It's that time of
Oh
year.
yeah, that time. Glad my team is in North Carolina. It's not going to be a year where we're competing for a championship, unfortunately. We have a very,
never say never, man.
All right, I'll say I'd be extremely shocked. We have a very young team, so that next year I think they should really be there. But it's March Madness, like you say, anything's possible. More for me, I'm looking to see Gonzaga stay in control, and then also I want to see Cade Cunningham being the level of star he is.
I'm looking forward to that.
Put his name all the way on the big stage with everyone watching, and I actually think he's going to. Oklahoma State's going to surprise some teams, and they're one of the teams I think that can make my dark horse to make the Final Four. But outside of that, I think it's Gonzaga's championship to lose. I think this is their year. They have 3 NBA players, in my opinion, with Suggs, Crispert, and Nembert. Like they have the team, they have the coach. I was thinking Michigan was going to compete, but that all depends if Livers gets healthy. Like that really hurt them. Yeah, losing Livers could really eliminate them. Illinois is a good team also. So there's some good teams. It's not the year where the Blue Bloods are in control. You're not going to have the Kentuckys, the Dukes, the Carolina, Kansas, where normally we see those teams as the 1 seeds and the teams that are projected to be in the Final Four. We don't have that this year. But I think that could lead to the chance of some of these lower tier schools finally break it through to get into somewhere they haven't been before.
Mm-hmm. But like you were saying, like you said, you don't think your team is just like their year. But to me, the NCAA tournament is the one event, and NFL a little bit, where it doesn't really necessarily. It's like it's almost 2 championships. Like if you make it to the Final Four, to me that's a stat. That's a championship, and then also winning it, which similar to the Super Bowl. If you make the Super Bowl, that's even if you don't win it, you made a Super Bowl. Like that's an accomplishment to me. And I think the NCAA is like that, and that's pretty much my ceiling. Like I don't think that we're as good as the Gonzagas or the Baylors of the world. Michigan said when they're healthy, like you said. Some of these other teams, but I do feel like we got an outside shot. Things go our way. We can make it to that Final Four, man, and that's kind of where I'm. Anything can happen, man. It could, because like you said, your squad, USC is a good team, man. Like they could get a couple W's, unless you know how it get in March, man. You know how it get crazy.
I was hoping with us, like I was hoping we was able to get to the 7 or 6 line because I didn't want to play one of the number 1s in the second round.
Yeah.
That didn't happen. Once we lost to Florida State, I think that kind of capped us at the 8th seed. Should have beat Florida State, but whatever. But UNC is one of those teams that I think this kind of affected all the top teams this year. Not top teams, the blue blood teams this year that get all the freshmen. No off season, no real out of conference play. They were thrown into the fire and they had to learn on the go. And I think college basketball and young players, that's one of the hardest things to do, especially when you have UNC, like both our point guards are freshmen, and college basketball point guard play is one of the most important things. And like they're solid players, but if you're not Cade Cunningham, if you're not Jalen Suggs, it's kind of a struggle to get to that level. And it seems like they're getting there now. And it took most of the season to get it because they needed to learn how to play together, learn how to play college basketball. It's another step up from college, from high school. And I think that's what affected Duke, Kentucky, Kansas to a different extent because your team is not as young, but you did have like the kid Bryce
Well,
Thompson and Jalen Wilson. They're young.
yeah. What happens? We had some vets that actually had to take control. It was supposed to be Jalen Wilson and Bryce Thompson
Yeah.
but
Thompson got hurt.
we just so happened to have we had McCormick, we had can't think of my guy's name.
Marcus.
Marcus Garrett. We had those guys that they did take control, but that like you gotta think about it like this, like just like what you said, our first game of the season was against Gonzaga.
Mm-hmm.
We played in a conference play with Cade Cunningham, with Baylor, those teams that were really, really good this year. So it was like we got beat up a lot. Right? And that happened to, like you said, Duke, UNC, all the same story. Like those teams that usually count on those freshmen were not ready when the heat turned up on them.
But I do think it's going to cause for next year to be a special college season because most years where some of these guys would have left, they're not leaving this time. You know what I mean? They did not put enough tape out there to say that they're NBA ready. You know what I mean? So now you're going to have the freshman class from last year and this incoming one together, and you're going to see some of these schools that had down years shoot back up immediately.
For sure.
You look at Villanova, they had some injuries down the stretch. They lost their point guard, Colin Gillespie. Then they lose another, what's the guard's name? They had injuries, you know what I mean? So you're going to see those teams come right back next year. And I think next year's college basketball season is going to be a year where people are like, yo, we haven't seen a season like this in a while because there are going to be some teams that are stacked.
And there's going to be a lot of underrated freshmen next year because of the situation with, some of the kids opting out and, haven't talked about a lot of guys that are actually going to school. And there's some great players that are going to be going to school. So, like you said, it's going to be, I think next season does have a potential to be special.
But we still, March Madness is always March Madness. It's always going to be fun. It's always going to be exciting games, great comebacks. While we were doing this, I was low-key watching one. Drake, they were losing most of the game to Wichita State. They get hot in the second half. They win the game by 1 point. So that's March Madness for you. That's just what happens. You see teams go on runs over the last 10 minutes and they steal a game they shouldn't have won. Next thing you know, they get some confidence and now they go on a run. You know what I mean? Like, remember a few years ago, you had the team Loyola Chicago. They made the Final Four. You had it the year, you would see last time we won, it was 2017, not that long ago. South Carolina, a team that's never usually much in basketball, has a few older guys, a few good basketball players, they make a run. You know what I mean? We've seen Gonzaga do it before.
VCU.
VCU, exactly. What was it? It was one back in the day, George Mason, with Kyle O'Quinn. Like, it happens. You're always going to have that story in March Madness. And this year, I think the team that could be is Ohio. Their point guard, Jackson Preston, he is an NBA player, and they're good. That's all I'm going to say. That they're a 12 or 13 seed. I think Ohio, I think they played Arkansas the first round, and Arkansas better be ready.
Yeah. Like, and those are, to me, that's the most interesting is that first day. That first day is that's usually my favorite day of the year.
Oh, yeah.
Like, those, like you said, you get all those potential upset games. Everybody's playing. It's 4 and 5 games on at a time. Yeah, that's my type of basketball.
Oh yeah, I love March Madness. The only thing we're missing this year is the crowds won't be as thick. Yeah. Won't get that same swell of crowd noise when the underdog is pushing the big school. You always got the spans of the next game, start to root for the underdog. You won't get some of that this year. We'll miss that. But outside of that, the NCAA tournament is back. We lost it last year. I actually thought your team was going to win it last year. I thought Kansas was the best team with Devon Dotson, and they had it last year, in my opinion. Unfortunately, we didn't get the tournament. We have it this year, and I think it's going to be cherished so much more this year because for the first time in my life and probably our parents' lives, there was no NCAA tournament.
That was no tournament. Yeah, no, that's true. That's true, man. I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, my favorite thing about it is just that first day when it's all them games on and basketball all day. Like I remember, it's funny just thing to remember because I didn't have it last year. But times where you'd be at work and you find different ways to try to watch the games at work.
Yep.
Yeah, that was fun, and that made it fun because it's like you try and watch it. Other dudes in your office trying to watch it.
Yep.
It's fun.
And this is the first time I'll say that we don't have to do that. Most of us are home. Yeah, so you don't have to hide it this time.
Perfect.
You don't gotta hide it this time. I that first weekend for me is always the best. Like you said, the round of 64, round of 32. There's so many games on, and so many different schools that you did not see all season. You learn about guys you didn't know about before.
Exactly.
And it's just great. It's just like college basketball during the tournament is kids playing their hearts out. You know what I mean? They're not playing for money. They're not playing for anything but winning a championship for their school. And you see guys play their best brand and their best style of basketball at that time. I watch every North Carolina game anyway, so that it's not different for me to get ready to watch them tomorrow. But Wisconsin's a team we don't play much, so it'll be interesting to see us play against them. And that's another thing that's interesting about the tournament. You see matchups you don't usually see. You know what I mean? Like we don't play Wisconsin ever. Like I don't even know the last time we played Wisconsin. To be honest,
yeah.
They were going to play with the first round this year, which is very odd. Like you don't usually see a North Carolina and a Wisconsin playing each other first round.
Matchup first round.
Yeah, that's usually a Sweet 16 or Elite 8 or even a championship style game. You know what I mean? But it's going to be in the first round this year, and I think one of those schools are going to lose in the first round, and it's going to be a shock to their fans. Like I've never seen North Carolina lose in the first round. Like I've literally never seen that. I don't know what that's about. Duke fans, they know about that. I don't know about that. So hopefully that
I don't know what that life either. That's crazy. Like that's the luxury of being, a certain fan of a certain type, blue blood type of team.
And I can continue to say I don't know nothing about that, but it's still not the same. If we lose to Wisconsin, it's not like losing to who'd they lose to that year? Mercer or they lost to Lehigh, CJ McCollum.
Lehigh.
It's not the same as losing to one of them.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So I will continue to bash Duke for those type of things, but that's just what we do.
CJ was killing those guys. I remember that game.
He put his name on the map that year. Like it was CJ McCollum. We should have known what he was going to be from that day.
Yeah, because he was killing those guys.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, definitely looking forward to it, man. One of like I said, the best time of the year for me, sports wise, like can't beat it. Can't beat it. Even in a year where it's going to be a little different than normal, can't beat it.
But anyway, man.
Yeah.
All good going tomorrow. We got a couple games today. Like I said, just Drake and Wichita State ended up having a good, fun close. Drake pulled it out. I'm getting ready to watch UCLA and Michigan State. Also, something you're not used to seeing those two teams playing this early. UCLA's been kind of down since I think Lonzo, that was the last time they had a good team, but really it's been since Westbrook and them left. They've been not what they're used to being, but Michigan State, when have they ever been this?
But this is one of those times, because I mean, Izzo's still there. UCLA is still UCLA. Once you call it the tournament, those teams suddenly morph into, what they're supposed to be, what they used to be. Like
especially
that game is gonna feel like a Sweet 16 game. It's gonna feel like, it's good. They're gonna morph into. They're gonna take on the identity of that school and that tradition and how they play in a tournament.
Especially, Michigan State. Every tournament, Izzo has them ready.
Yeah.
And they've beaten some good teams this year. They beat Illinois this year. They beat Ohio State this year. They had an up and down year, but if you're able to beat those guys even in a one-game setting. That shows that the team has enough talent.
All it takes is one game in the tournament.
Yeah, they have enough talent. I think they get past UCLA kind of easily tonight, actually. And then I think they would play BYU, who's an okay team, but they better come ready to play because if Michigan State gets into a roll, they are better than them.
Yeah.
Just being honest. No disrespect to BYU or to any other team. You don't have the talent that a Michigan State has. Like, no matter if it's a down year or not. That was why I was hoping North Carolina got into like a 6-7 seed range. Because if we play a 10 and then we play a 2 or a 3, more than likely we have a better team. You know what I mean? Like, we're over in this situation because we had a slower start, but talent-wise, more than likely we have it. I don't feel that same way. Like, if we beat Wisconsin, we play Baylor, I can't say we're better than them. In no way. You know, like, Baylor is a good team. You gotta respect it. So that's probably where I usually have a bracket every year where I have them, North Carolina, in the Final Four. And it's usually because we're a 1 or 2 or 3 seed, and it's not anything far-fetched. I don't have that this year. I can't allow my fanhood to go that far. But like I said, the team I'm rooting for this year is Oklahoma State. Cade Cunningham, you know, I've been talking about him for a year now. Like, Cade Cunningham is ridiculous. Like, that kid's the real deal.
Nah, he's one of the guys I'm looking for. I want to see him on that stage. And I want to see if Gonzaga. I think we could all say that they've shown that they are, but I would want to see it in this tournament.
Yeah,
this is where you see it. This is where they show it.
This is where it matters, because no matter what they did this year, they're undefeated. If they lose one game, that matters. Nothing matters. It doesn't matter what season you had, because you don't play in a big conference. So no one's going to be like, oh, yeah, you went undefeated during a regular season. Yeah, you play against Joe and Bob from accounting during this season. You know what I mean? Like, you don't play guys that are future NBA players. You know? So I've been saying this to myself. I want Gonzaga to go to a real conference. You're now at a level where you recruit at a high level now. Like, Jalen Suggs is a McDonald's All-American. I mean, Corey Crispin was a high-level recruit. There's no need for y'all to be playing in that conference anymore. Go to the Pac-12. You don't got to go anywhere else. That's right there on the West Coast. Y'all can stay in your area, go to the Pac-12, play against USC, play against UCLA, Arizona, Oregon, and let's see what y'all can become. You have the talent. No one would be shocked at all if Gonzaga went to the Pac-12 this year and won the Pac-12.
They've sent enough guys to the NBA to the point where they got productive players in the league. They get, like you said, those top flight guys now, and they've been a program that's been here year in and year out now at this point. So yeah, you're probably right. It's probably about that time for them.
Yeah, like last time North Carolina won a championship, 2017. It was against Gonzaga, and it was a good game. Like, we didn't blow them out. It was a very good game. Like, they had a good team. That was Zach Collins' team. Like, it's time for them to come on and leave this mid-major thing. You're not a mid-major anymore. No one sees you as a mid-major anymore. You're the real deal. I mean, it's time for y'all. Like,
like you said, it's about that time.
Wichita State did it. You know what I mean? Like, Wichita State was one of those schools that was a mid-major, and we stopped looking at them that way because they were winning. You know what I mean? Now they're in the American Conference. They play the UConns, the Seton Halls, the Villanovas. You get more respect that way. You know what I mean? It's time for Gonzaga to go to a real conference.
Good. That's a take I can't disagree with. I back that. It's about that time. And maybe after this tournament, that's where they would be headed. Like, if they do what people think that they might do in this tournament, it's kind of hard to then.
Yeah, like, I don't want to see you going back to playing
and then win the chip.
State.
And then, it's tough to go back. Yeah, no, for sure. But anyway, man, let's put a pin in it there. Because this time next week we're gonna be talking Sweet 16.
Yep.
This time next week. Yeah, so we're gonna be talking Sweet 16. We're gonna have more NFL free agency, NBA trade deadline. So we got plenty to talk about. So we'll get back to it, man. Anything we didn't hit that you wanted to hit?
I just wanted to say, I think it's sad what's happening to Deshaun Watson right now.
Oh, for sure.
Everybody knows Deshaun Watson is a clean cut kid. He's never been in trouble at any level of his life. Just because he wants to leave Houston does not mean it's time for a smear campaign. Even the lawsuits don't even make sense. Even we read the lawsuit, oh, they say he asked for this, the chick didn't want to do it, he leaves. Okay, so why are we even reading about this? Why is this even news? Only reason it's news is because he wants to get out of Houston, and it looks like the fans or attorneys in that area, and maybe even the franchise themselves, are upset. And to me, it feels like they're trying to muddy his name, and they're trying to get him looked at in a different light, so it changes the circumstances. And I think it's absolutely ridiculous. Um, Sad actually. It's very sad what's happening to him right now. He's too good of a kid. He's too good of a player, and it needs to stop.
Yeah, it's sad in a lot of different ways, and like and I'm glad you did bring it up. I kind of forgot about it because we did start talking about that before we got on, and there's no good outcome for this. This doesn't work out well for anybody because it's not like okay, this happened. And I don't want to accuse the Texas organization of this because I would hope that they have nothing to do with this, but you know it's not like he's gonna go back and say, "Oh man, you know what? Now I want to be a Texan for life." And he's not
Yeah.
gonna. So what's the best possible outcome on this? You put a kid through some stuff that he doesn't deserve to go through. Now, he's still gonna want to go play somewhere else. So at the end of the day, the best possible outcome on that end of things is that he loses out on some money. He has to sit out a year now because you know the Texans killed his market a little bit or whatever, which I don't think is gonna happen anyway. But there's a whole other side to this that's even a deeper, darker, and it's when you have these type of allegations, you want to believe the victim.
Mm-hmm.
In a perfect world, you want to be able to be on the side of the victim
Mm-hmm.
because too many of these situations happen where the victim is not justice isn't served, and so you want to, but then you have a situation like this where it's like you almost can't believe the victim because it's such BS. The story is BS. The timing is BS. The
Mm-hmm.
the people involved is BS. Like so now, to me, like I said, that's the darker part of this. It's like when they weaponize this type of stuff, it brings other things into question. Like I said, with this happening now, I remember this time 2 years ago when Antonio Brown said he wanted to trade from the Raiders. It was similar accusations that came out.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, and we didn't give Antonio Brown the same benefit of the doubt just because of the personality that he was. But thinking back to it now, it's like the timing of that was pretty damn convenient, and I haven't heard much about it since.
And
So
then
it's
you
like,
got the Bill Bell. I'm not Bill. I'm sorry, Robert Kraft situation where we know that happened. And no, he didn't do any sexual assault. I'm not calling Robert Kraft anything sexual assault. He was just getting a rub and tug. You could say whatever about it, but it was not ill. It is illegal, but it was not violent
he
or
didn't do
any type of
anything.
thing like
Yeah,
yeah,
he didn't
like
do
that.
anything
Said,
wrong to me.
but the same thing, like you don't see the same light that this is getting. You know what I mean? We heard about the crap thing for a day or two. It moved on. There was not 6 civil
Talking about
cases.
Kraft. Talk about Jim Irsay.
Oh, well, his is real.
Yeah, Jim Irsay is even worse. You barely hear about it, but Jim Irsay was doing some
Exactly.
real stuff.
And I always hate whenever there's something sexual assault, that's a criminal thing. You can't be talking about a civil case because now that's when I
Exactly.
don't believe you. When it
What
all
we
becomes
doing?
about money and just making someone look bad, I don't believe the story. And I don't want, like you said, I don't want to become one of these men that are immediately not believing a woman when she says something like this because I honestly believe most times the woman is telling the 100% truth. I mean, for the most part, they're not making it up. A lot of effed up stuff happens to these women by athletes, by regular people at all times, and it's disrespectful. So when something like this happens, it messes up the whole thing for everybody, and it's just sad. Like you said, the timing doesn't seem right. The stories don't seem right. We've already found out that this attorney reached out to Watson before the news even came out, trying to get money to get it to go away. So it all looks like someone's trying to get some money and they're trying to make him look bad, and it's messed up. It's messed up.
Yeah, yeah, it's trash. I'm like, come on. Well, even as soon as I saw it, I was like, come on, man, we're not gonna do this, are
We're
we?
not gonna do this.
And now it's three accusations in. I'm like, come on, man. If he was this type of dude, this would have been out there. This
Been
is not.
news.
You
No one
can't.
would have been hiding it. Like,
You don't just wake up one day and say, I'm gonna start sexually assaulting. Like, it doesn't work. I don't believe it to work that way. You know what I mean? I think if that's who you are, that's who you've been. Like, you didn't just start it. So I don't know. Like I said, I would love. It's just only right that you would live in a world where if a woman says something happened to her, then something happened to her, and we need to look into it. But now, with the way that they've used it, they're weaponizing it. So it's like you don't really know these days.
shame, man. Like you said, I just wanted to say that this mirror campaign is disgusting. I hope it gets blown over. And that I hope I hope it goes to court and they lose and his name is restored back
It's
to what it's
clear,
always
yeah.
been, because he's been an upstanding athlete. He's a role model. He's what you want your kid to look up to.
Yeah, because like you said, like you get something like just say AB situation, Antonio Brown. Nothing has really been said about that. I don't know what's going on with it. I don't know the status, but nothing's been said about it. But that cloud still hangs over him, and he's never been able to actually, either A, clear his name, or B, be found guilty. Neither one of those things have happened. So it's just kind of up in the air. It's like, and I would hate for something like that to happen with Deshaun Watson, because I feel like the type of kid he's been, that, his image, he doesn't deserve that. To me, he doesn't deserve that unless this is something that actually has happened. So, we need to get to the bottom of it at this point.
Yep. Absolutely. Fully agree. But that was all I had left.
All right. Yeah, I mean, good point, though. I definitely wanted to talk about that, but we'll leave it at that. We'll call it tonight, and, we'll be back. Plenty to talk about. There's a lot of stuff on the horizon. Thanks everybody for checking us out, man. We definitely appreciate it. Check us out next time and join the conversation. Also, check us out on social media. We're on Twitter, Instagram under About That Sports Life, ABT, DAT, SPRTS, LIFE. Also, YouTube and Facebook under About That Sports Life. Email info at About That Sports Life. Any questions, comments, concerns, topics, anything you want to talk about, we're here. Also, you can definitely check out replays of the show on our site, www.aboutthatsportslife.com.